So last week in our introduction chapter, especially we discussed about the five topics that Bhagavad Gita. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
So the five topics that the Bhagavad Gita discusses overall. So what are all the five? Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. So we discussed about what are all these five actually. Ishvara, the controller, especially here, Ishvara means the supreme controller. The supreme controller. So everything is emanating from him. Krishna himself declared in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 8th verse, Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Everything is emanating from me. That means whether it is Vaikunta, whether it is Bhuloka, whether it is Pataloka, whatever it is, it must come from the Lord only. So he is the Ishvara, the supreme controller. Now who we are? We are Jivas. That means we are living entities. Krishna is also a living entity. We are also a living entity. The difference between Krishna and us is Krishna is unlimited, we are limited. So Krishna has unlimited power, whereas we have limited power. But in terms of quality, we are the same. We are the same. So Ishvara and Jiva. Now Prakriti. What is this Prakriti? This Prakriti has two forms. One is spiritual nature, another is material nature. Both are Prakriti. Both are Prakriti. But one is materially related, which is called Mahamaya. Another is spiritual related, it is called Yogamaya. Yogamaya is always with Krishna, whereas Mahamaya separated from Krishna. So this material world is the energy of Krishna, but separated from him. That is why it is called inferior. So anything that is closed with Krishna is superior. Anything that is far from Krishna is inferior. So that is why this material nature is inferior. And now, what is Kala? So especially in material world, everything runs with time. Runs with time. Without time, we cannot function. Without time, there is nothing in the material world that runs through. So if we look at the creation of this material world, when the elements were created, earth, water, ether, fire, sky, and air, these five elements were created, they didn't function, they are not cooperating one another. These elements are not cooperating. To cooperate them, the time has come. Kala. Kala is Krishna. Its time is Krishna. Kalosmi aham. Krishna is telling that I am the time. So Kala is the time which make all these elements work together. So this creation was done like that. That means Kala is the energy of Krishna which makes this world move. That is why we call it as past, present, future, isn't it? In the past, at the present, in future. See these words we are using it. So in the material world, there is nothing superior to time. There is nothing superior to time. Many examples we can give it. Any example you pick it up in the world. For example, when I was a small boy, we consider Alexander the Great. We call him as the Great. Alexander is like what you call the universal hero, one who conquered all the world. We call him like that. But how many people know Alexander now? Such a great hero, Alexander, nobody knows. And If you look at it in today's map, Mongolia, anyone know Mongolia where it is? Even most of you may not even know where Mongolia is actually. Hearing here and there, but precisely if you ask which continent, what language they speak or something, many of you even don't know. But Mongolia, do you believe it? One time it conquered almost 3/4 of the world. We don't. But over the time, all this become what you call disappeared. Disappeared. We have to find them in the history books only. So such is the powerful time. Now the last piece is called karma. What is this karma? Karma means, in one sense, it is the work, activity. So in other words, the karma is basically or directly related to our activity. Whatever we do, the result of that one is karma. Whether that is good, bad, everything is up to us. If I do good work, then I get good karma. If I do bad things, I get bad karma. It is directly proportional, isn't it? If I work in the office, if they don't recognize me today, but tomorrow they can recognize, sometime I can recognize, someday I will become definitely successful. Hardware never fails. Sorry. Hard work never fails. So the success is proportional to your hard work, or your success is in proportion to your hard work and intelligence. Same logic. This is about, so far we discussed about it. Now let us move on to today. Let us see where we are with this. So what is the material nature? We discussed Ishvara. Okay, this is what we have discussed it. Okay, so especially here, look at it. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the result of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. So, how do we change our karma? I think this is the question that Vasanta Prabhu asked at the end of our class last week. Prabhuji, how do we change it? Because whatever I did in my past, now I'm experiencing that karma. Now whatever that karma is dictating me now, without any free will, I'm just blindly or uncontrollably following that, and I'm doing it. So my future is going to be dictated by the same. So when do I change this one? Here it is. How do we change it? We change it by knowing the absolute truth, the real knowledge. How this real knowledge converts this karma into something good, we will see further. Chapter number 4 of Bhagavad Gita explains it. Chapter number 5 of Bhagavad Gita explains it. Up to even chapter number 18, it will explain it. So the knowledge or the real knowledge is something that will help us to change our karma. Now, so far we discussed that. So let us read this one. Okay, I think this is from where we need to read it from. So anyone would like to volunteer to read these two paragraphs?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Neelma Mataji. Dandavata Mataji. Would you like to read, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. I heard someone wants to speak or something. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
The position of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the Jiva, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the Jiva Prakriti is called superior because the Jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the Jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetrajna, conscious, as is the living being. But the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies. Because he lives in the heart of every living being, he is conscious of the psychic moments of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving direction for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we take off and put on clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the five items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, four are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal.
Yeah, you can read this one also, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Someone,
This
1 minute, Mataji. Is anyone wants to read it? One more person can read it.
I'll read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
The supreme conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances. Just as the light reflected through colored glass may appear to be a certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Mayadhyakshena Prakritihi. When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of the Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated.
Thank you, Prabhu. You can stop it here, Prabhu. So in these three paragraphs, we can clearly understand, what this Bhagavad Gita is offering. If we thoroughly understand these concepts, there isn't be any confusion in our lives at all. Especially this is a very, very uh, fundamental thing. Fundamental thing. Lot of times, even our children ask questions, isn't it? Why I do this? When you ask, come to the temple room, and while puja is going on, fold your palms and pray to the Lord, bow down to the Lord. As a children, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, they don't know why they need to do, So we need to explain to them. We need to show them. That means we need to understand why and why I should bow down, right? So the first question we should know is why anyone has to bow down? When do we bow down? Can we bow down to each and everyone we come across? Whom we bow down to? When do we bow down to? Any comments from anyone?
No, Prabhu.
In front of elders or superiors.
That's correct. In front of elders and superiors, in general, we bow down, right? Our parents, our uncles, if they are elder, we bow down. Any old people, grandfather, grandparents, respectable, we bow down. We bow down. That means they are superior. They are superior. They are rich in knowledge, or they are old age, they experience it. From their experience, they can teach us something. For that reason, we show the respect. Now here, if we take the same concept a little higher, we can see Krishna being the original person, the person from everything emanated. Aham adirhi bhutanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. He is the very beginning of everything, isn't it? He is the beginning of everything. There is nothing before Krishna. Matta parataram nanya. There is nothing superior to Krishna. Krishna is the superior. Ishvara Parama Krishna is the supreme controller. So that being said, how we are different from Krishna? We are different from Krishna because we don't have the same energy that Krishna has. Krishna is omnipotent. We are not omnipotent. What is omnipotent or omnipresent? What is omnipresent? Anyone know?
Present everywhere, Prabhuji.
That is correct. Present everywhere. For example, I'm sitting in America. If my mom thinks about me, am I going to be in front of my mom? No. Now my name is different than me. My physical body has a name called Srinivas. By calling my name Srinivas, my mom is not going to see me. But on the other hand, if my mom calls Srinivas name of the Lord, she can see the name, or she can see the Lord Govinda. She can see. I can see, she can see, you can see, everyone can see. That is the difference. So Krishna is omnipresent, we are not. But we are also a living entity. That means we change, we move, we animate. Unlike matter, we move. For example, stones. Do you see stones grow? Of course, there are some stones that grows. But can we see how often we see the mountains grow more and more, more and more? We don't see. The way we see, it's difficult to see anything that grows. Our home, we built it with certain size. Let us say 1600 square feet home. Is the 1600 square feet home is going to grow to 1800 in 10 years? No, no. But if there is an infant born in that home, in 10 years he will be 10 years old. The home is not growing, but the child is growing. This is the difference. One is Prakriti, which is called dead matter. Our body pretty much is a dead matter, isn't it? As soon as the life force leaves our body, what do we call it as? We call it as dead body. We call it skeleton. We call it passed away, gone. And what do we do with that body? We criminate. No use. We criminate. We criminate. That means this body has a value when there is a conscious in it. There is a conscious in it. That is why avidya karma sanyaya. This body is avidya. There is nothing vidya. There is nothing knowledge. Nothing belongs to this body. Karma, all it has is what? Fruitive activities. This body is used to do fruitive activities. That is why, Krishna's energies are categorized into three. Krishna has millions of energies, but they were broadly categorized into three. What are those? Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, Kshetragnakya Tadapara, Avidya Karma Sanyaya Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. So Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, that means this Vishnu Shakti, the Lord's energy is superior. Superior. Para, it is superior. Kshetragna, that word we saw it. So that means Kshetra means our body. The one who knows about this body is called Kshetragna. So we, the living entities, living inside this body called Kshetragna. Kshetragna is also a superior energy. But there is a difference. So Krishna's energy or Vishnu Shakti, it is called Antarangika Shakti. In English, it is called internal potency. Now, we, on the other hand, we are also superior, but we are called marginal energy. In Telugu or in Sanskrit, it is called Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha Shakti. But on the third one, Tritiya Shakti, the third one, what is this? Avidya Karma Sanyaya. That means this nature and this karma, all these things, fruitive activities, all are called Bahiranga, external energy or inferior energy. Inferior energy. That means we are living a body that is of inferior. So why do we have troubles? Because by nature we are superior, but the body we have given is an inferior body. That is why we are in this trouble. This is something like this. A car was built with an inferior body parts, but the engine that was built in that car is That is an engine that goes into the aeroplanes. What is the difference? The engine that goes into the aeroplanes, they go hour 500 miles, 500 miles per hour. But the body of our car, maximum it can sustain 150 miles per hour. Now what happened? The engine of 500 miles per hour sitting in a car that can only withstand 150, then means it never goes full 500 miles per hour. That is our life. Even though we are having such a great power inside us, we don't experience all that power through this body. So if we really want that power, then we have to exercise it. We have to exercise it. How do we exercise it? That is what this meditation and all these people will do. The siddhis, they wave their hands in the air and get vibhuti, get these flowers. They walk on the fire, they walk on the water, they jump from one place to another place, they become small, they become big. All these siddhis, they can get it. How? Personally, they are there with us. Each and every one of us capable of doing all those miracles. Our body, we constitutionally, the living entity is capable of performing those things. But this body is not enough. So those who practice that, they will experience it. It is very easy to know this one. For example, bodybuilders. Bodybuilders. Look at some bodybuilders, how massive scale they grow up to. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ronnie Coleman. He's what you call Olympiad, or what you call what is it? Mr. Universe. Mr. Universe. 8 times, 9 times Mr. Universe or something. You know what he can lift? He can lift 1000 kgs. What is this? That's almost 1 ton. Any human can lift 1 ton? Is not easy. In our cars are not even 1 ton. Our cars are probably 650 pounds or something like that. So that means he can easily lift the car and put it aside. How is it possible? That means he tapped the energy which is inside. That means the physical energy, he tapped it inside through rigorous exercises. We can do that. We can do that. I don't know how many of you are watched these martial arts practitioners. They call it as chi. Chi means energy. Energy. They can bring out that energy from the body through their hands, legs, separately. So some people, they chop their hand far from you, but it will cut through our hand, whatever it is. How is it possible? Even without touching our body, by just waving or slashing the air, how could they cut us? They can. That means what? The energy that is releasing from their palm is acting like an extended sword and cutting our body. The air is used as an extended sword. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. So Jiva is capable of doing it, but our body is limited capacity. Limited capacity. So that is why he is telling that we are sitting in this body. We are sitting in this body. Now, why this body is affecting us? Why not Krishna? Why not Krishna? Anyone have any comment? Why this body, material body, made up of Prakriti, is affecting us Why not Krishna? Anyone have any comment? Hare Krishna.
The personality of God, how it could be impacting.
The simple question is, this body is affecting us. One day cold, one day hot, one day fever, one day happy, one day not. Why it is limiting our abilities? Why it is not limiting Krishna? Krishna also has two hands, one head, all these things, just like us. We are created after Krishna. We are created after Krishna. That means some form and respect. We are just like Krishna. So that means Krishna's form is also somewhat like us. So why it is not restricted? Why it is not restricting Krishna?
Brother, like our body is weak.
I think Nayana Prabhuji is having little trouble with his mic. Anyone else have any comment?
Prabhuji, maybe Krishna, he did not born like physically, like how we living entities like born, Prabhuji.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Krishna is not having a body that is made up of these material elements. Our body is made up of material elements. I don't know how many of you are familiar with our ritual process. When, or I don't know, when any of you seen this one, at least in movies, you should have seen this. Especially in Christians, when they bury the body in a casket or coffin, they drop it and they take little dirt to hand and they drop in onto the coffin. And what are the words they use it? Anyone remember what words they use it? These are famous words. Even many religious uses to one form or the other. What is they do? They take the dirt in hand, drop it onto the coffin and say one line. What is that line?
Rest in peace, Prabhuji. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Nobody has seen it anywhere outside or in the movies, anywhere. That's strange.
No, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
I never heard. I never saw one.
Okay.
Sorry.
When they take dirt in hand and drop it, and they say, earth to earth, dust to dust. Earth to earth, dust to dust. Or ashes to ashes. So ashes to ashes. So if the body was burnt, when the body was burnt, say this is buried. When they buried, they say like that. When if you say burnt, then ashes to ashes. So what does it mean actually? So our body should never ever be disrespected. Why we have to criminate? Because by criminating, we put them to fire. By criminating, that means we bury them. What it mean? Our body is made up of all these five elements. What are those five elements? Earth, water, fire, ether, air. These are the five elements our body is made up of. So when we are not using this body anymore, now we have to give it back. This body has to be given back when there is no use. We rented it. We rented this body. This body has to be returned to the owners. So we bury it in the earth. That means we are giving it to earth. We criminate it. we put it into the fire. So we are giving it to the fire. Or in some traditions, those who living on the banks of this ocean or something, what do? They put it on a boat, small canoe kind of thing, canoe, and then they send it in the ocean. That means giving it to water. So one of these 5 elements receive our body back. Never ever throw this body. That is why even an unknown person dies on the streets, even the government has the responsibility to take it and cremate it. So cremation means nothing but giving the body back to its owner. Who are the owners? These 5 elements. That is the reason of cremation. That is why we should never ever disrespect by just let the body go by. Even if you see in our tradition, if a person dies, even an unknown person, if there is a need of help, then he will go and help that person. Whoever is passed away, his relatives, he will help it. Why? This is one of the greatest deed we can perform for a person who died. That is why whoever carrying the person who died get lot of benefit because sending him back. So our body is made up of this material elements, whereas Krishna's body is not. Krishna's body is eternal. There is no such element called that deteriorates. Our body, look at it. When an infant, we are unable to walk. We slowly grow up, stand, stood, walk. We become firm. We grow. And I can feel like I can work, do anything and everything. Then what happened? After some time, after 60, 70, I will go back. Go back where? My strength is dwindled. Slowly I come to, I am unable to walk again. I will be bedridden and I die. That means this body is growing and this body is dying, decaying. These 6 changes our body is going through, whereas Krishna's body doesn't grow. These changes. But we may ask that, then how Krishna is born, how Krishna is growing from a boy, infant to, infant boy to, young to, all this. How did Krishna do? Krishna is not growing. Krishna is showing a leela to us that as if he is growing. But Krishna is never grows. Krishna is always 16. Navayavvanam ja. Navayavvana means he just stepped into Yavvana. Yavvana means what? 18 years, 19 years. Navayavvana, that means young. Young, that means 15 to 16. So Krishna is always Navayavvana. That means 15 to 16. He never grows. That is his age. So here, clearly telling that Mayadhyakshena Prakruti. So what he is telling? These elements are my servants. So the master can use the servants as he sees fit, as he needs. So they are under his palm. They cannot affect him. But these elements are not in our palm. Even though we are superior, we are not the masters of these elements. The master of these elements is Krishna, so he can control it, but we are not masters of this element. When do we can control these elements? Or I am going to ask everyone, is there any situation where we can control the elements of nature? When do we control these elements of nature? Krishna controls it, it is given. Mayadhyakshena Prakriti. Under my direction only these elements are creating it. That is Krishna said. But we cannot. So, but In the history, we have seen some people have controlled the material energy. How did they control it? Any comment from anyone?
By tapasya, Prabhuji.
Yes, perfect. By meditation, by tapasya, by bhakti. Bhakti, tapasya, meditation, bhakti, sacrifice, all these things will control these elements. It will give you power over those elements. Haridas Thakur, when he sings, he can make the rain can come from skies. He can make them. When he sings, he can lit all the lamps. If he sings a certain way, he can make everything burn away. If he sings certain way, he makes everything grow, crop, all the fruits, vegetables, everything. He can do that. Haridas Thakur can do that. He has control over all these elements. Advaita Acharya, they can control all these elements easily. Even practically, we have seen some of these Babas, we have seen, right? Some Babas, they can control certain elements, right? So that means it is not a difficult thing to control the material elements. It is possible. See, certain countries, I don't know, this is one of my observation. How much you are all familiar with Korea, China? At least you have seen the people, right? In America also you see some Chinese people, Korean people, right? Our Indian people, American people, you can gauge the age. You can gauge the age. One time I have seen, I think in office or somewhere, I thought of she is an high school student or middle school or high school means 9 to 10, 10th grade student or something. To my shock, she is 32 years old. See, I am not that wrong in gauging the age, but how wrong I am. I thought of she is just ninth grade. Ninth grade means what? A maximum 15 years. So how did I make a gap of 15 to 16, 17 years? That means their body was constructed such that it can hide the age. It can hide the age. So that means it is possible. It is possible. So it is not that these elements, oh, okay, we don't have, these elements are possible. But bhakti, through which we can do all these things. So this is about it. Now, let us read the last paragraph. Anyone would like to try this last paragraph for today? Whatever I highlighted.
I would like to try, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, please. Whoever is said. Is it who said?
It's Kirti Prabhuji.
Yes,
Prabhuji.
yes, Mataji, please go ahead. Please.
When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conceptions cannot understand his situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life. And Arjuna put himself in the position in order to receive the information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for the transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. In the In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also the definition of liberation is given. Muktir just
It's fine, ma.
hitvanyata
Yeah,
rupam
yeah.
swarupena vyavasthitihi. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness. And therefore, we find at the last stage of the Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part of and we are part and parcel of the Lord. But for us, there is the affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the Supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the small individual souls.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you,
ma.
Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Mataji. So here is for today a very wonderful where we can stop this one. Our whole life goes by this bodily concept, isn't it? As soon as we born as a baby, the first thing, this is my baby, isn't it? This is my baby. Call the father, call the grandparents, call the aunts, call the mother. This is my baby, isn't it? Who is my baby? My baby means who? My baby means this body. I am the father and someone is the mother, right? So that means what? There is a physical connection. We always go by this bodily concept. We cannot avoid it. That is the biggest problem of living in this material world, isn't it? If anyone asks, who are you? Where do we start first? I am so and so. What do I say first? I am Srinivas. That is my name. But I am not. My name and me is not the same. But I say I am Srinivas. I never say my body has a name called Srinivas. Do I say like that? People say that I am insane. I never say that my body has the name called Srinivas. I say I am Srinivas. That means this body. My parents are so and so. My parents are bodies too. That means all our relationship are made up of or from this body. This is my ego is speaking. My ego is speaking. I. We cannot avoid this I at all. Isn't it? These are my children. Isn't it? These are my parents. This is my country. This is my home. This is the concept we are living in. As long as we are living with this bodily concept, we never ever be happy. Why? Why? Because this body has everything limited, but our desire for happiness is unlimited. The happiness is unlimited, our body is limited. So when can we be happy? Our desires are unlimited, right? If I am living in an apartment, say for example, first we came from India, we are living in a guest house provided by the owner of the or the company owner in a guest house, sharing with other folks, sitting on a bench. So what is the first goal? Let me have a job, get into an apartment. Now I got into an apartment, I have a job. Now after working couple of years, now I wanted to buy a home of my own, from the rented home to my home. Now I joined home. Now get married, have everything. Now children have come. Then what happened? Now I wanted to buy a second vehicle to support family. I have a car, but now I need to buy a family van. We all can go leisurely. Now what happened? Second car was added. I give wonderful reasons for all of this one though. But I'm adding more stress to my daily work. If anything happens, I have mortgage left, I have my car mortgage, everything, insurance, all has to be paid. Everything is coming from my job. So how much stress I'm taking it? Lot and lot and lot. This is how we live. This is how we live. So the biggest problem for us is the reason why we are unable to happy is, or let me ask before I make my statement, can anyone tell what is the reason why we are unable to be happy, even in spite of having good family, good job, good bank balance, house, car, and everything? Why still we are not able to happy? Any reason? Anyone made a comment? Anyone can make a comment? Why we are not happy?
Our desires are unlimited. We are not satisfied with what we.
We are not satisfied with what we have. Do anyone have any other opinion? I think Krishna is trying to say something. I think his mic is not working. Okay, someone else have any comment? Why we are not happy? Krishna said we are not satisfied with what we have. Is that the real reason?
Probably maybe we think that
Jealousy also.
One at a time, Mataji. Nalini Mataji. Nalini Mataji or Nainar Prabhu, one of you.
Yeah, jealousy. Maybe because of jealousy, Prabhuji.
Jealousy is comparing with the other people, because sometimes people won't be jealous at all. They don't compare even at all.
Cause of lots of desires, having unlimited desires.
Yes, Kirti Mataji said unlimited desires. Okay, let's hold that thought, Mataji. Nayana Prabhu, you're saying something, Prabhu?
yes, so I was trying to say, like, we are seeing the happiness in the wrong place. Like, we are thinking that these material things will give happiness, but that's temporary. That's why our happiness is also temporary.
Yeah. So the biggest problem in our life is, you can all of you, when you went back after this class, think about this one. Okay, we always focus on what I don't have. We always go after what I don't have. We never focus on what I have, isn't it? Our focus is always on what we don't have. But many things we don't have. As Kirti Mataji mentioned, things are unlimited outside. Lifetime is not enough to procure all the things that are available outside. So our focus is always on things that I don't have. But we never focus on what we have. That's the problem. Happiness is the other way around. Krishna Prabhu mentioned dissatisfied, not satisfying. That means what exactly? As soon as you limit yourself not wanting for something, that means you are restricted. You are restricted. I don't desire anymore anything. I limit. Then what happened? That is satisfaction, not happiness. See the problem where we are going? If I limit myself, not wanting any new things, satisfaction will get, not happiness. See the difference? If we are satisfied with what we have, that is not happiness. Happiness is an ever increasing one. Happiness is not a stale one. When it is stale, that is not happiness. Satisfaction is stale. I'm getting 100,000, family is good, everyone is doing good. Let me have this 100,000, have a small apartment, small car, everything. This is satisfaction. This is not happiness. Happiness means not limiting myself and adjusting and working. This is adjustment. But on the other hand, when I'm asking for things that are not there, they are constantly going, but I'm not capable of it. So the problem is, as Naina Prabhu mentioned, looking at the wrong place. That means we are looking in the material world where there is no happiness at all. We are searching a wrong place. This place, Dukkhalayam. This place is not meant for happiness. When there is not meant for happiness, where do we find it? All we find is temporary relief. See the difference? Temporary relief. When I don't have a home, I'm living in an apartment, coming from an apartment to own home, giving me a temporary happiness. Actually, this is relief, a temporary happiness. When I don't have a car, I got a car, a temporary relief. A temporary happiness, which is a relief, not true happiness. True happiness means when I have the car, I should satisfy, I should never ask for anything at all. But car is not happiness. Car itself is not happiness. Buying car itself is not happiness. Happiness is something which is spontaneous. It will keep growing. In the material world, there is no such thing like that. So, that is the reason why transcendental world is exactly opposite of it. So, transcendental world, there is no limit. You can love Krishna whatever the way you want it. For example, you are a tree in Goloka. You looked at Krishna and Krishna is dancing with Gopi. And suddenly you, being a tree and wants to play with Krishna, dance with Krishna. What happened? Suddenly you can take a form of a Gopi and dance with Krishna. That means there is no restriction there. A tree cannot be a Gopi. A tree can also become a Gopi and dance with Krishna too. So in the material world, there is no these limitations like what we have now. I'm a woman body, woman. I can never be a boy. I can never be a man, vice versa. Those restrictions were not there. That is why it is unlimited, where you can experience happiness unlimitedly. That is why our dissatisfaction in this material world. We may say that a lot of people are happy in this world. No, nobody is happy in this world at all. A lot of people are adjusted. A lot of people are satisfied. A lot of people are living successfully. That is what the definition. So first we have to rise from this concept of the body. We can discuss more this one in depth when we discuss further into Bhagavad Gita. I will just stop here because it's going to go. This is a wonderful topic. We all can experience it in our lives and we can adjust it and we can see how much our life is progressed and helped it. Today I don't have time, but I will give one example of my own that happened few days back when we are all working in our temple site. This Bhagavad Gita so much helped for me when I hit a problem, while I'm working in Sunday. Very, very, the positive mindset of me suddenly remembering Bhagavad Gita there, and all these problems, it's a kind of, how much it is set me in 3 days, the recovery of all these physical injuries, all these things, unimaginable. So the potency of Bhagavad Gita is no ordinary. Believe strongly the words of Krishna, believe strongly the words of Acharyas. 100% it will help us. 100% it will help us. There is no doubt in that. So I'll stop it here and let us see if we have any comments and questions from anyone. Kirti Mataji, Maunika Mataji. Anyone have any comments? Sandeep Prabhu.